I think last year, also here, isn't it? I remember you and some of you. Same person. And I would like to know, among the sort of audience, those who first time came here, raise hand. Okay. Right. So then those are the people who participated previously, I think one time or two times. Do you find some change on my face? Not much change. Huh? Oh? Actually, last year, I think February, this right eye, what called?
Cataract.
Cataract remove. And then July, this also. Now my eye quite clear. So some of those bald head, you see, few hairs I can see. So 1 year passed. Time always go, always move. No force can stop that. It is quite natural. So we have to go according to that time movement, along that time movement. But one thing I always telling people, we have just one, what we can do is use time properly, meaningful, sensible, or just wasting time, or sometimes time used for destructive work. That up to us. So now, the very purpose of our gathering here is how to utilize time properly. And I think almost minute by minute, hour to hour, and day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, decade by decade. Through that way, our rest of our whole life becomes something meaningful. So whether I accept life after death, whether I accept or not, whether I believe or not, it is important to spend this very life should be something meaningful. So meaningful means time which you really feel, you get genuine satisfaction. Use time harming, cheating, bully. You may get some kind of satisfaction at the immediate level. But long run, you yourself also feel some doubt. Even non-believer, too much cheating other people, too much telling lies, too much bully other, exploit other. Although you see no concern about God or these things. But still, as a human being, little sort of the uneasiness. So therefore, those things which get genuine, deep satisfaction, and you use your time, activities which gives you real satisfaction. That's the meaningful life. So money will not give you real satisfaction. Think only money. I think greed increase. As a result, you never get satisfaction. Always want more. More compassionate sort of attitude, act, or compassionate sort of thought really gives you genuine, long-lasting satisfaction. So, firstly, before telling you, as a Buddhist monk, I have to check my own sort of motivation or use, how to use my own time. So, now my age, nearly 78.
No.
78. Oh, recently, Mahakumbha Mela, I received an invitation, as before, as usual. So in the past, I think 3 times Kumbha Mela I participated. So this 4th. So I decide I must go. Then that period, I am Dharamsala, so we arrange a charter plane from Dharamsala to Allahabad. But then that very day, weather bad. So, generally speaking, beyond my control, but God control. So God not willing me to participate in Kumbh Mela. Then again postponed. I think 10 days, fixed one day. Again that day, weather, between there's a good weather, but that very day, again bad weather. So then I felt, now, if I cannot go this time, then next 12 years, after 12 years means my age 90 years. So maybe difficult. So I feel a little sad. I really very, very keen. In the past, every sort of Mahakumbha Mela I visited. Like that. But doesn't matter. Like that. So important day-to-day life must be meaningful life. So now our topic, the main purpose is, say, how to carry our life some meaningful. That I usually telling people at the beginning as an introduction of Buddha Dharma. And then how to practice Buddha Dharma. So two
levels. On
two categories.
2 phases. Yes. Phases.
2 phases, yes. So now introduction. I think our old sort of the audience already know. But I usually used to telling people first we should think on human level. We are human beings. Of course, all we usually call sentient beings who have the positive experience of pleasure and pains. We do not consider, although there is some sort of debate that these plants also have some feeling or cognitive power. Some school of thought, now according in ancient Indians of thought, including Buddhism, you see, there is life. So certain sort of their movement or reaction is only chemical, due to chemical
reactions.
No feeling, no mind. Except you see these sort of their lives. Otherwise, you see all the lives which have the feeling of pains and happiness and some kind of cognitive power. So we, one of them. And within that, again, it's a sophisticated sort of brain which we have. And others, like animals or insects, have the same sort of experience of feeling of pains and pleasure and some cognitive sort of experience or ability, but not much sort of thinking power, right?
No.
Intellectuals,
No.
intelligence. We have this marvelous intelligence. All sentient beings want happy life, do not want suffering. Then we, because our unique, powerful intelligence, so we have much bigger sort of ability to achieve happiness and reduce or avoid suffering. But meantime, sometimes this marvelous intelligence also sometimes is a source of problem. I think even it's a physical sort of also the illness, also is sometimes too much stress here, too much worry. That's a mental level. Also is ruin our physical sort of health. Perhaps more educated people, more sophisticated mind, sometimes more worry. Because you see, more sort of expectation, more
Hopes and fears.
Oh, hopes and
fears.
Fear.
No.
Oh, because of this intelligence. I think ordinary animal, I think much less. Except immediate sort of threat. Otherwise, they have not much sort of the thinking power or past memory. We have, because of the intelligence, our memory also is very, very strong. And since we have this sort of writing or language, we have the ability not only memory within our own lifetime, but also generations, in the past generations or centuries. So that also sometimes you see add worry, anger, hatred, hope, like that. So now, it is quite logical. Use our intelligence. Meantime, intelligence should be source of happiness, successful, not worry, not sort of because of anxiety or stress. Now that is, I think from birth, we already equipped a sense of human affection. Affection, really source of, source of happiness, source of security, right?
No, sense of security.
A sense of security, a source of self-confidence. I think we, even other animals also, who born from mother affection, very strong, even animal. So that provides their youngster sense of security and security, right?
No.
And very sort of comfortable sort of mental state. That immense sort of help for sustain or for proper growth of their physical cells. These are nothing to do with religion, biological factor. There's no question. Now some scientists who carry some sort of investigation these things, they found constant fear, constant hatred, anger, very bad for our health. So calm mind is very, very important for our health. How to develop calm mind? With darkness? No. Utilize fully about our intelligence, sharp intelligence. And that intelligence should be source of calm mind. That can be done. In order to do that, firstly, we should develop awareness, the usefulness about our warm-heartedness. Analyze according to your own experience, and also analyze your friends. No, analyze the how sort of happy or how sort of unhappy among your friends. The real sort of happiness, real sort of friendship comes from warm-heartedness, not from money, not from power, not from mere education, nor knowledge. That's quite clear. So then, once we develop clear awareness, clear sort of understanding, the warm-heartedness is really ultimate source of happiness, ultimate source of physical health. Then you pay more attention. So I usually used to telling, what's a day? 3 points. Our common experience. That means everybody born from mother. So those people who immediate after birth were born, and then next few years, those children who really received maximum affection from their mother, and including, I think, mother's milk and physical touch, those human beings, deep inside, much happier. And those children, maybe the other day, one meeting, this speaker, Dr. Karan Singh, then myself, then one Muslim, great sort of Muslim Sarvasri,
scholar, practitioner.
Oh, wonderful. I met this before also. I think
Maulana
the buyer, who's that
yes.
name?
Maulana Wahidi Khan.
Oh, that's wonderful sort of Muslim. I met before also. Wonderful. Yeah. And then the Bishop Tutu's daughter. So, while we answer or explain something, different questions, put all the sort of speaker way for people. And then during that sort of session, of course, Dr. Karan Singh since I think 56, we know each other very close. So I teach him. As far as the receiving mother's or also the affection is concerned, and close touch with mother is concerned, I'm more fortunate. I am just religious as the child. Then I told Dr. Ganesh Singh, as a son of Maharaja. So Maharani, perhaps I think, let their sort of holiday, Yomokare.
Yes.
Yes, take care. No, and I think the Rani may not give the milk. But for my case, you see, no formality, no sort of that kind of holiday. Kasata.
Formalities.
So I tease him. I received more affection from my mother because of poor farmer's son. So that's our common sort of experience. Then that time I didn't mention. Usually I telling you see people say my mother is so kind to me, and because of such sort of kindness, so I become quite bold. So my mother quite often is carrying me on her shoulder. Then I hold my mother's 2 ears. When I want to go this side, I do this, and this side go like that. So actually, I control my mother's movement. I think Dr. Karen, I think never have that kind of experience. I think. So anyway, of course, these are not sort of expression of disrespect. Of course, I have deep respect. Dr. Karen, at the sort of meeting, as I mentioned earlier, so I mentioned, you say, like that. So this part I didn't mention. In any way, so that's our common experience. Then common sense. Among my friends, those people may not be rich or significant person, but very friendly, trusted family members. And also, you see, they treated other people as a close friend and humble, sincere, honest. These people, you see, Kazuda, never appear as a stranger, as a human being. Those maybe some position or rich. Last year, I met some group of Chinese from mainland China. Some of them, I think 4 or 5, educated, and some sort of, I think, writers like that. One very, very poor farmer, quite old. His sort of shoes, his clothes, very poor. So we sit together, and of course, I have some sort of discussions or some talk with those intellectuals or writers. Then also I ask something about the poor peasantry.
No.
Then all those come from mainland China, same. All Han Chinese. But those educated, more sort of successful life, where they look down that old person. So deep inside, I got a little irritation. So I pay more attention towards that poor person. And ask her own sort of life and the condition about their village, farmers. Really, the story, really, very sad. He told me, See, those poor people in countryside, nobody taking care about them. Officials don't care. So these people, when you think got some problem, nowhere to appeal, nowhere to seek help. Only power and money. So such sort of society, such sort of, I think, a community, where no sense of concern of others' well-being, sense of truthful, honest, then no real peace. Among Tibetan also, when I was young, when I asked my sweepers, come from village, uneducated, most of them illiterate. But when I asked some questions, they answer very frankly. All sort of complaints about the regent or some lamas or some officials, they have no hesitation. They carry all bad news. When I ask some officials, same question, then they say, sometimes silence, sometimes say, oh, okay, good, like that. So more sort of ordinary people seems more honest, more truthful. That brings me trust. That brings me real friendship. Maybe with a successful life, but a little bit sort of distance, then difficult. So that actually against the basic human nature. So honest, truthful brings trust. Trust brings friendship. That friendship is really sound. So when we use our common sense and judge, then you get conviction or honest, truthful, compassionate attitude. And then how to bring honest and truthful? If your mind clean, genuinely is concerned others' well-being, not thinking your own sort of selfish sort of interest, then you can act truthful or openly, transparent. Too much self-centered attitude and ready to exploit others. And even you want to be honest or truthful, you can't, because deep inside the self-centered attitude there. So analyze these things, then you get conviction or sense of compassion or sense of sense of concern of others' well-being. That really immense help to bring inner strength, self-confidence. Through that way, you can conduct attitude transparently. That brings trust. That brings friendship. That creates happy human society. No matter whether believer or non-believer. Isn't it? Now, the third, the scientific sort of finding. Since last, almost now, over 30 years, I have series of discussion with scientists, different field. So particularly in medical science, where now they, through their own experiment, now they clearly confirm heartedness is the source of healthy body, source of calm mind. So therefore, first level, on human level, everybody wants a happy life. So we must realize the ultimate source of happy life, successful life, is within ourselves, not material, not power, not fame, real here. So nobody control that. It's entirely up to you. So that's important to know the ultimate source of your own happy life is within yourself. So pay more attention about that. That's number one. So that usually I believe India, this country, last over 3,000 years, the secular concept, secular ethics already there. Without any religious belief, even remain non-believer of God or these things, but accept these secular ethics. I think that's, great sort of treasure of India, I think. Because of that, ahimsa also related. Respect different belief, and including non-believer. So respect there, so harmony comes, not harming other. So ahimsa and religious harmony, these things happen. So the concept of ahimsa very much related with this. Respect others' life, others' right. Then no basis to harm, to try to control. So real ahimsa, basis of real ahimsa related with that kind of mental attitude. The religious harmony also is very much related with that. Respect others' view, others' right. Then respect their religion. Although you personally do not agree their view, but these people also human beings, also people. So they have right to carry their own views. So respect. So that's this basis of religious harmony. So these things are, I think, ancient Indian tradition. So these are not only ancient tradition, but also very much relevant to today's world. So please, those people who have opportunity to share more people, please tell these ancient sort of your tradition and values. That's something very important. Whenever I give talk, I always mention these things are ancient Indian sort of tradition. So I simply messenger of these tradition. So sometimes I tell, particularly when I met some sort of Indian spiritual leaders or spiritual practitioners, I always say, you are my guru. So guru's level, now I'm as a chela or kasorchuti, as a messenger, on messenger level, quite active to mention these things, to share, to know more people. So now my boss, the guru's level, must be active, not sufficient to carry some sort of your rituals and recite some difficult shloka of Sanskrit. That's not sufficient. You see, must come out and more contact with masses, particularly the younger generation, educated people, and make these 1,000-year-old tradition is very much relevant to today's world. Look, some places, in the name of religion, fighting, killing. Very sad. Among same Christian, sometimes conflict. Among same sort of Muslim, conflict. And then recently in Burma, this area, actually I think the economy reasons. but use the name of religion. So some conflict, Muslim and Buddhist, and Sri Lanka, Buddhists and Hindus. So now, these sort of 1,000-year-old Indian tradition is a must sort of make known, and we should be more active to educate more people. So this is number one. Then now another level, believer. On that level, basically theistic religions, non-theistic religions. For example, within this country, I think almost 3,000-4,000 years, different spirituality start. Right? Now, I think according to some sort of translation from Indian text, the Sangha philosophy, Sangha tradition is the earliest sort of non-Buddhist tradition. And then from there, then more, one root, Sangha philosophy, then more sort of branches. So within Sangha, according Tibetan translation, I think Arya Deva's text and Viveka's
Bhava Viveka.
Kasa.
Bhava Viveka.
Oh.
No.
Usually not difficult. Today I found it really difficult to pronounce Kasa.
Bhava Viveka.
Bhava
Bhava Viveka. No.
I cannot pronounce properly. Okay. That great scholar. And also Shandarakshita. And Shandadeva also to some extent. And then Dignak, Dharmakirti. Mainly, you see, these great masters of Nalanda, they are writing. I think practically at that time sort of existing all Indian philosophical thoughts mentioned. So within Sangha philosophy, there are two categories. One category, no concept of creator. Another category of Sangha accept creator. Then many others, you see, accept creator, Brahma, like that. Then Jainism, no concept of creator. And almost at the same period, Buddha came, Mahavira and Buddha. I think except a few, 30, 40 years differences, otherwise the same. So these two great masters, you see, no concept of creator. So three traditions, one part of Sangha and Jainism and Buddhism, these three non-theistic. And on the world also, I think Judaism, Zoroastrianism, and Judaism, and Christianity, and Islam, all accept the Creator. So I think non-theistic religion, I think only these three, I think ancient religion, ancient Indian religion, one part of Sangha philosophy, Sangha school of thought, and then Jainism and Buddhism. So now, when we look philosophical field, big differences. Even within a theistic sort of believer, there are differences. As far as I know, the Muslim Allah, one God, only God. the Christianity, Trinity. Although I think maybe same God, I don't know. 3 gods or same God, Trinity. But, oh, okay. Then later, Sikhism. I think very open-minded in the spirit of non-sectarian. And the Guru Nanak, even took pilgrimage to Mecca, isn't it? So this is a very clear sign, non-sectarian. Respect all existing sort of beliefs, faiths. Wonderful. So in spite of big differences in philosophical field, but all carry same practice or same teaching of love, compassion, with that tolerance, forgiveness, and individual contentment. How the new Pope, it seems, I think, very simple sort of simple way of life, isn't it? I heard, he sort of the talk with people on human level, not much sort of not much distance, wonderful. And according to BBC, you see, he also managed his own food. Then in that case, you see, he much advanced than me. I never made my own food. Even making tea are difficult. I don't know. Particularly with salt. How much salt necessary, I don't know. So many Christian brothers, sisters, when I visited their nunnery and monasteries, their life, very simplicity. They very much emphasize simplicity. Right? No. Wonderful. Sometimes I feel with Tibetan monk, maybe more luxuries. Those some Christian monks monastery. Really wonderful. So all this, and then many people, some Muslims also, some Christians, really totally dedicated their life for serving other people, poor people. Now in India, some of our settlement in different sort of states, most of these are settlement in remote area, tribal area. So difficult, quite remote. But I found some Christian nuns, you see, working in these remote area. Teacher, working as a teacher, or as a sort of the medical, as the workers, like that. So they are that kind of such sort of also the dedication, right? Dedication. No. Whole their life come from their own faith, like late Mother Teresa. So it is clearly sort of clearly sort of also the clearly demonstrated. You see, in spite of different philosophy, some say there's creator, some say no creator, but real practice is concerned, all these sincere practitioners really, they practice compassion. Out of compassion, you see, serving people, particularly needy people. Wonderful. So therefore, there is sufficient reason, respect all those major religious traditions. A different philosophy, the same potential to create a sensible, good human being, compassionate, good human being. So that's the basis of mutual respect. And once we develop admiration, mutual admiration, then there is tendency to learn their tradition, their philosophical views. So through that way, mutual learning also comes. So that's the basis of genuine harmony among the different religious traditions. So each have their own sort of unique thing, which to certain people, because of mental disposition, it's suitable. That sort of particular way of approach is more effective. So that's quite understandable. Among the Buddhists, among the Buddha's own follower, he taught sort of different philosophical views. It appears contradictory, but that Buddha deliberately taught because that sort of particular philosophical view is suitable to that particular person. So, because of this different mental disposition, and also from the Buddhist viewpoint, also is it due to previous karmic or previous imprint, right? Or previous sort of imprints. So there are so many different mental dispositions. Even you see twins, different mental disposition, always there. You can't sort of explain thoroughly from physical particles. So including some sort of say imprint. That's quite mysterious, of course. So like that, therefore, you see, among Buddha's own follower, you see, because of different mental disposition, Buddha taught different contradictory philosophy. So, as a Buddhist, what we learn from that sort of situation? Yes, on this planet. Now, for example, today, about 7 billion human beings there, and different location, different climate, different way of life, different style of food. So, different sort of culture, different sort of mentality there. So, we really need different way of approach, you see, to cultivate love, compassion, forgiveness, these things. So once we recognize this factor, then we develop mutual respect, mutual admiration, like that. One time in Vienna, some meeting. That meeting took place in a monastery, Christian monastery. So I think 2 days, some sort of discussion meeting. Then next early morning, I think because it was my meeting with the Chancellor, Austria Chancellor, so I left early morning from that monastery. So as usual, sort of my practice, before leaving that monastery, I pay my respect to Jesus Christ, the statue of Jesus Christ in their main chapel. I spent a few moments. Then I reflect, millions of people, you see, get immense sort of benefit from Jesus Christ. So during reflect these things, and tear comes in my eye. Oh, really wonderful. That does not mean I accept Creator. No. I have plenty of reasons to argue the concept of Creator. Because Digna, and particularly Dharmakirti, really, you see, put a lot of reasons, argument. If you accept Creator, there are a lot of problems here among his own creations there. And the Creator, no beginning, no end, means permanent. The source is permanent. Then the Creator must be either never happen or permanent. These are the main sort of reasons Dharmakirti is raised, these questions. And of course, I think I mentioned, I think previous meeting also I mentioned one of my sort of friend, very religious-minded. He asked me, very sincerely, all human beings, or all whole world created by God, full of mercy, full of love. And among his creatures, a lot of sort of mischievous people there. So why the Creator created such mischievous people? He sincerely asked me this question. What is your answer? You.
What would be your answer?
So that I see, because I know him, so I half joke. I told him, oh, because you see, God creates hell, so there must be some people who have to go hell. Otherwise, no use to create hell. So in any way, I really respect or admire these Christianity, and also Islam. Now sometimes nowadays people have the wrong impression. Islam is more militant religion, totally wrong. And also the very word jihad. Some of my friend, Islam, a Muslim friend here, and also I sort of discussed with some professors of Islam. They say the very meaning of jihad is combat your own negative sort of negative action, negative emotion, these things. So there's every religion to teach us when we are about to develop negative, harmful emotion, we must combat, we must face that and try to minimize, try to neutralize, like that. So also I think I mentioned, perhaps I think many occasions I mentioned the Fatima in Portugal. There's one small statue of Mary. So one occasion, as a part of my sort of practice, pilgrimage to different holy places. So one time I have opportunity, so pilgrimage.
To go on pilgrimage. To go on pilgrimage to Fatima.
The Fatima. So one this size of Mary statue. As usual, some Christian brothers, sisters, and myself, we sit together and some silence meditation. Then, finishing that, we about leaving. So then I turn back the small statues, Mary statue. Actually, that Mary statue smiling. I look again, looks to smiling. So it seems the Mary, so much of loving kindness there, so he do not sort of distinction Buddhist or non-Buddhist, not much sort of differences. or Christians or non-Christians, not much differences. So that I really felt, oh yes, I really respect all these major religions. I admire, I appreciate. So the Mary seems to acknowledge my sincere sort of feeling.
No, sincerity.
Like
Not sincerity.
no? So we can practice. You can develop genuine respect to all religions, Meanwhile, preserve your own practice. So here, important, faith and respect make differences. Differences. Respect. All major religious traditions. Admire. Appreciate. And meantime, your own sort of faith remain kasota, without mixing these things. So now that is the second. Now, theistic religion, non-theistic religion. Now, non-theistic religion, three major, mainly three. So within three non-theistic religion, differences. Now, question of Atma, or Sangha philosophy, and all the branch, all sort of school of thought, which come from Sangha philosophy, all except Atma theory. And Jainism also. Now only Buddhism do not accept, do not have concept of Atma. So therefore, Buddhism, Buddha, right from the beginning, say Anatma theory.
So Buddha
Yes,
teaches.
yes.
Buddha
The
teaches.
time is
No. So the Buddha teaches
louder.
four things about which are impermanence of things, and selflessness or emptiness of things, as well as the selflessness of things.
Mm-hmm. So, the Four Noble Truths, Buddha's sort of first sort of Dharma wheel, he taught Four Noble Truths. So there he mentioned anathema theory. So that's the basis of all Buddhist school of thought. The original sort of the Four Noble Truths that accepted all Buddhist school of thought. Then further sort of definition about anathema or shunya. Then you see Buddha himself taught different levels. Pranjaparamita Sutra and many other sutras. Then he taught, and also some sutra which the root text of Chittamantra philosophy. All these Buddha taught, but you see different meaning of emptiness or shunyata. So all these, the root is anathema theory. So that's the now differences about Buddha Dharma. Now Buddha Dharma, after Buddha enlightened, his first Dharma wheel, he taught Four Noble Truths. Then after some time, then he taught the Pranjaparamita Sutra. And then another Dhamma wheel. But you see, it seems quite clear. The Four Noble Truths in Pali language, I think later you see also edit in Pali language. So that is more or less publicly. Then the Pranjaparamita Sutra, such sort of teaching, not publicly sort of taught, but selected audience. So Chagupur Kasa.
Vulture Peak.
In that place, you see, I think obviously, you see, he selected audience, then you see taught that. If we do not accept these teachings are not true Buddhist teaching, then ultimately we have to accept, like Nagarjuna, You see, these great Nalanda masters, you see, their wisdom, their intelligence is sharper and greater than Buddha. This is fact. If you read, you see, the Pali sort of the script, Buddha's own sort of the teaching, and then those Nagarjunas, they are writing. You see, their way of analyze, very sharp, very scientific. So that we can't accept. And then Nagarjuna, these sort of great sort of pandits, great sort of masters. So I often used to telling, occasionally I telling, as far as Indian history is concerned, Nagarjuna should know better than Western scholars. Firstly, he was Indian. Secondly, his time is only, I think, 300-400 years after Buddha. Much closer than after 2,500 years, some scholars, isn't it? Then most important, the judging Nagarjuna's writing, his mind is very sharp, not dull people, not dull person. He not easily accept what others say. He never acted like yes minister. Sometimes you see religious sort of follower, very faithful, whatever their teachers say, yes, 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 that's almost like yes minister. So Nagarjuna, not that kind. Buddha's own word, he analyzed. This Buddha's statement, right?
No.
Statement, we cannot accept literally, because if you accept that, then sort of contradictory sort of things will come. So we have to take different interpretation. We cannot accept literally. So Nagarjuna and all his followers, like that kind of thinking, always try to investigate through reasoning. And of course, these people, through their own experiences. Although Nagarjuna too early, some of Tibetan masters, through their own experience, you see, they show us, you see, certain things. Even in my own generation, of course, I have no experience, but my sort of previous generations, you see, I know some of them, some kind of extraordinary experiences. I personally know. So therefore, it's a combined intellectual understanding and then through practice, actual experiences. So through that way, you see, like Nagarjuna, they used to say, accept the Sanskrit tradition originally taught by Buddha himself, not publicly. So, two sort of, traditions, Pali tradition, Sanskrit tradition. And Nalanda practiced both. About Vinaya, now even today, same, Burma, Thailand, Sri Lanka, so on, these Theravada sort of countries, their Vinaya practice is same as our sort of Vinaya practice. I think two years ago, I think 2-3 years ago, I think one, World Parliament of Religion. Of course, first I think in Chicago or something, then South Africa, and then some different places. I always participated. And one occasion, I think the last one in
Melbourne.
Melbourne. There, I think some of you, I think already know. Some, I think, knew. There, among the delegates, one from Burma, so 2 Burmese monks there. So they said a message to me, they want to see me. And I have deep respect or admiration about Burmese Buddhist tradition. Goenkaji's sort of practice, you see, the lineage from Burma. So I have sort of deep sort of admiration. So when I heard there's a 2 Burmese monk, bhikshu, who want to see me, then in my room, I myself also used to wear this yellow robe and received the 2 monks from Burma. And we settled, and he, the Burmese monk, has told me, we are the follower of same Buddha Shakyamuni. However, we have many differences. Then I immediately felt, oh, now wrong information. Some sort of Western writers, you see, they describe Tibetan Buddhism is Lamaism, not genuine, authentic Buddhism. Then secondly, Tibetan Lamas themselves, you see, prove we are not genuine Nalanda tradition. We have quite free. Wear monk's robe with wife, drink. Vinaya never allowed that. So I think some of our own people sometimes you see disgrace oneself. Disgrace oneself. And then, so you see some writer described Tibetan Buddhism is Lamaism, not genuine Buddhism. So immediately I felt, oh, the 2 Burmese, wonderful two monks, I think got wrong impression. Then I told, yes, there's differences. However, the basis of a Buddha Dharma is Vinaya practice. So our Vinaya, except our Vinaya lineage is Mula Savasdevatan. Then in Pali tradition, mostly Theravada tradition. So we also checked differences about the Patimoksha. Patimoksha in Pali, Patimoksha in Sanskrit. We are Patimoksha in Sanskrit. So in our Patimoksha, 253 rules, precepts. And Pali, 220. Right?
20.
Or 227 or something like that. So we already sort of study these things or make comparison. So therefore, I explain all the Vinaya practice and our precepts on these things. Then these two monks, showing me a little bit surprised. Oh, you also have this kind of practice. So these are same practice. Actually, basis of a Buddha Dharma. Then, so Nalanda, like Nagarjuna, great sort of bhikshu. His lineage is our sort of the lineage same. He was one of the earliest of the lineage. Buddha's own son, Rahul. Then I think few generations. Then Nagarjuna. Then through that way, the Shantarakshita. Shantarakshita invited by Tibetan emperor in 8th century. So he gave ordination, bhikshu ordination. Our lineage is come from him. So like that. So Pali tradition and Sanskrit tradition. They Kasachuti. Nalanda tradition combine both. I think Takshashila like the Kasachuti, Bosband. I think he also studied Takshashila, I think. His writing, Abhidhamma Karika. I think original Sanskrit or Pali? Sanskrit way. Or any writing in Pali or from these great Nalanda masters? You do not know. So then Tibet Buddhism, as I mentioned earlier, in 7th century, and particularly 8th century, Buddha Dharma already flourished in China. I think at least 2-3 centuries earlier. So through marriage, 7th century Tibetan emperor Songtsen Gampo married with one Chinese princess. So when Chinese princess came to Lhasa, he brought one important Buddha statue. And he also married with one Nepalese princess. So that also is brought one Buddha statue. These two Buddha statues consider very, very important sort of sacred Buddha statue in Lhasa. Yeah. So the family ties already there, through marriage, already there. But then, 8th century, the Tibetan emperor prefer, as far as Buddhism is concerned, they prefer deal directly with India. So 8th century, at that time, one of the top master of Nalanda institution, Shantarakshita, he invited. Then Shantarakshita's age already over 70, 75 or something like that. According to Tibetan belief, 900 years. So my Indian friend, jokingly told me, or Tibetan font, long life. So therefore, they put additional 0. So 90 become 900. So anyway, you see, I think it is quite sort of common, right? No. Late 70s, right? Late 70s, his age, no. Over 70s, he invited by Tibetan emperor, he came. Then he start translation and give teaching, give vows, bhikshu vows, because of the shaman area and bhikshu, all these, you see, he introduced. And then meantime, the 7th century, King Songtsen Gampo introduced Tibetan script, copy one of the ancient Indian Devanagari script. So some of the Ashoka pillars writing, we do not understand the meaning, but we can read like that. So some similar sort of letters, no. Similar like that. Then grammar, copy the Indian grammar, Sanskrit grammar, like that. So I think over 1,000 years, since then, I think Sanskrit.
So amongst the 5 major subjects that we consider, there is also this Sanskrit, which we learn.
Oh. I also, you see, this lazy, poor student, also, you see, learn Sanskrit, the grammar part. My teacher, my senior tutor, when I received the lesson from him, he told me one particular text, Takalapa. The text, Kalapa text. I say, my tutor, he also studied Takalapa. So when he gave me explanation, last 30 years after he learned, then after 30 years, he never touched that book. For 30 years. But then he told me, he now, last 30 years, he never sort of looked at that text. I may not sort of have very clear memory. But then when actually he explained, his memory very sharp. Like that, I also used to learn. So that's part of our study, not Chinese language, but Sanskrit language. So So it's a Tibetan, since I think 7th century, 8th century, we developed very, very close link with Nalanda traditions. So, now, last several years, I think few decades, I start to introduce Tibetan Buddhism is pure Nalanda tradition, Nalanda lineage. If say, or Mahayana tradition or Hinayana tradition, that creates more confusion. Simply Nalanda tradition. Then it's quite clear, like that. So, 9th century, then Tibetan king, Kasajuti, Mata killed. Then eventually disintegrated. I think few centuries remain like that. 4 centuries, and then eventually the small Tibetan kingdom in the western part of Tibet, the capital Tuling. So then he tried to follow his sort of, because of his ancestors sort of practice. He firstly sent his best sort of Buddhist masters sent to India and study. And then, according these people, at that time, one sort of was a well-known master was Atisha Divankara from Bangalore. From Bengali. Bengal. So eventually he invited. When the Atisha Divankara reached Western Tibet, Tuling, then he wrote this text. Now this text on. So all Tibetan the lineage after him, then Nyingma, Gergyu, Sajya, all used to follow the Atisha Divankara sort of this short text. Like Nyingma Longshin Ramjamba, his sort of was the writing, some important writing according to this text. Then Gergyu, Nyami Tapulhaji, so writing follow this text. Then Sajya Lamdre, part of Nangsum, follow this teaching. And then Kadamba, of course, his own sort of lineage. Then Lama Tsongkhapa, Gelug also used to follow this text. So this become root text of all different lineage of Tibet after the 10th century, 11th century, like that. Then I received oral transmission about this teaching, this text, from one Kunu Lama, Ringzi Tenpa, one good scholar of Devu Monastery. He actually he incidentally, now in any way, I think in 1947, here is one conference took place. Then Mahatma Gandhi there. So Tibetan delegation participated. So among them, see, one Tibetan scholar, some Tibetan scholar should be included. That kind of sort of discussion happened. So, among old scholars, he can remember his birthplace, Kinnaur area. So he speaks Hindi. Meantime, good scholar. So therefore, he included the delegation. So later, you see, he became my my teacher. I received a lot of teaching from him, oral transmission. So one day he casually told me he was one of the members of that delegation. So in Delhi, the Mahatma Gandhi ji, you see, want to see him, and he met. And Mahatma Gandhi ji, you see, inquired some important sort of text about their study, and he mentioned Lamdun, this one. He told me. He mentioned Atisha Dibamkara, he wrote one text that we consider top most important text, short text, which he told me like that. So I received oral transmission from him. Wonderful monk. When I received teaching from him, of course, I offer him tea, Tibetan tea. So he enjoyed the tea, and then some butter. Butter, he chose on my face. Oh, wonderful, wonderful teacher. I received, I think, oral transmission from him. I think many thick books, which very rare. My official two teachers didn't have that kind of oral transmission. So I received from him. And then also Kunulamam Stinzi Khyentse, basically non-sectarian, great teacher. His own family background, Kachuba. But then he received a lot of teaching from Nyingma, from Sakya, from Gilu. Wonderful. So now, this text, because the king, the Kazachukti, Tuling Gyabu,
No, the Dharma king lived in the western part of Tibet.
He requested to Atisha, he would like to have one short sort of writing, and quite simple, and mainly focusing on cultivation, the practice,
to the cultivation,
or without much sort of debate. Unlike the Kamalashila, the student of Shantarakshita. Shantarakshita invited to Tibet and then passed away. Then his main student, Kamalashila, also invited to Tibet, 9th century. He wrote 3 texts. Of course, he wrote, I think, at least 2 texts in India. One, Madhyamaka philosophy, one, logic. Very, very sort of difficult. Very sort of,
it's a classic text.
Classic text. So after he invited to Tibet, then he wrote 3 texts. That also, you see, raised a lot of questions and debate. So that's Nalanda type. Nalanda's, all those masters of Nalanda, their sort of style is raise all the sort of questions, opposing questions. Where?
No.
Opposing where?
No questions.
Questions, then answer. or debate. So the teacher Devangara, not that style, but quite simple way, mainly the audience already following Buddha Dharma. The other text among different different views, where people who have different views, then she explained about Buddha Dharma. So a lot of discussions, a lot of raised questions and debate. That thing is longer I am not reading this, just simply explain.
So His Holiness will not go through the text verse by verse as such, as part of the oral transmission. Give explanation.
At the beginning, he mentioned, he categorized 3 levels: Kibu Chungu, Kibu Jing, Kibu Chambo.
So he makes these 3 distinctions amongst the practitioners, which are the beings with small scope or faculty, and then middling and supreme faculties.
Dumda Dhammika Shevke Mari, Chulu Dhammika Shevke Mari, Mananzo, Chunyamnising, Sosu, Yuzu, Teneng Tane, Muslim Shevka.
So this, the categorization of beings into these 3 types is not about not taking into account the different philosophical traditions that they follow or anything like that, but then it mainly focuses on what kind of disposition the practitioners have.
So mainly those people who get use some kind of importance, right? Importance, right?
No.
Importance of this life, and mainly the sources of sensorial level pleasure. So that is obstacle, the first level of obstacle. So we must reduce that kind of strong feeling. Not too much emphasis, importance of sensorial levels of experiences, but rather mental level. So obviously, sensorial level, all these facilities are just for this life. When death comes, no longer any use. But certain quality which develop on mental level, that impact next life. So the first level, try to reduce too much emphasis about this life's material values. I think we can say that way. 다 당구제도 동안 컨시 텀네 간다게 코야 대화 잠달라 런이 돈돈 예시고 기부되는 탐을 시스.
So we are on verse number 4, which says, "Those who seek peace for themselves alone, turning their back on worldly pleasures and avoiding destructive actions, are said to be." And verse number 3. Know that those who, by whatever means, seek for themselves no more than the pleasures of cyclic existence are persons of the least capacity.
사진 제시 공간인구 잠배양게 셰스니 송셔도 뒤송여래 천들으셔나 처바민스 천디장장 삼다 대회나 아니 산제베 처베터 죽마레스.
So in one of his visions of Lord Manjushri, the Sakya master, Sajjan Kunkan Yingpo, received this teaching from Manjushri, where Manjushri said to him, if you are attached to this life, the pleasures of this life, then you are not a practitioner of the Buddha Dharma.
천들으셔나 처바민 코알으셔나 인중민 시베 푼솔 시잖아.
And if you are attached to samsara, the cycle of existence, then you do not have renunciation. And if you are attached to selfish goals, then you are not a practitioner of the bodhisattva path.
Zimba shungno dawa means.
And if you
Attack zimba diya di shiktu was mo shungno, yang dawa dawa chungyo ma res.
and then if you cling to objectivity of things, and things have some kind of objective existence, then you have not realized the view of emptiness.
Da anda di rinpa tangku tse. Da tsen dili shina chuwa mi sunu zane. Da anda di kibu chungu peba da, kibu chungu da kaso ure. Tala tele da kibu chungu. Da tsenyi basa kome ra. Da kibu chungu peba di anda higi shia. Tsen di jangjang, jik sen shen dea, sen di kibu chungu peba tse. Da anda di koya dewa zamtala saya di sibe punso gyawa chima ngondu lu den tobiachi. Den reji da tobjala sha, migyu sha ni di tondo ene da dikbung kiru, migi jubung chujung. Da dikbung kiru nyamni sha den di dibuchung chawars.
So with regard to this verse that we read, what it is talking about is basically, first of all, we can make distinction between two types of beings of small capacity. One type is those who are attached, as I have explained already, those who are obsessed with the pleasures of this life alone. And this is what we are not, this type of persons or beings are not considered here. But then what this verse actually refers to are those who are not attached to the pleasures of this life alone, but who wish to reach or to be reborn in a higher rebirth in the next life, and then accordingly apply themselves in the practice of avoiding the negative actions and cultivating the positive actions. In other words, cultivating the 10 or overcoming or avoiding 10 non-virtuous actions and practicing the 10 virtuous actions. So such beings are referred to by this verse.
Perhaps I think we can say we want, person who want present or sort of the positive life, all the facilities there, and comparatively less sort of problem. So this kind of sort of the sibe punzo, ngondu punzo, data yaodu sam shempa cheni, yawa chimay dinan shigi ngondu punzo tabna sanda samta.
So by acknowledging that the excellent facilities and things that we experience in this life to be good, the positive things that we have in this life to be good, and then aspiring to have this kind of experience in the next life, and accordingly you think of reaching or obtaining a higher rebirth.
So then, this very life, we can see some are quite miserable. Of course, the many other factors there, but main factor is one's own previous karma. Karma means action. So those people who in the past, not only this life, but past life, also you see some sort of negative activities, harming other people. Now, for example, killing or stealing, sexual misconduct, or rape, right?
Rape.
And then telling lies. All these result, this even in human life, some kind of problems, you see, happen. Therefore, now, in order to have next life, the proper human beings and born proper sort of because of the human society, we must cultivate already the causes of that result, and we must avoid the causes which we born and difficult lives. even born among human beings, still difficult lives. So mainly it's focusing quite sort of quite satisfactory as of the human life or worldly life. Then similar sort of continuously in next lives also using this kind of sort of what's it, quite okay life. So now method 10 non-virtues
to avoid doing the 10 non-virtuous actions.
Restrain, committing non-10 virtues. And simply restrain, not committing non-10 virtues is the virtuous, 10 virtues.
So restraining yourself from committing the 10 or refraining from the 10 non-virtuous actions itself is the practice of the 10 virtuous actions.
다 컨시 텀니 간다기 is 코야자와 잠다라 연이돈도 니스고 기부전에 담을 수 있어요. 다 전에 니버디 the second level. Now the second level, analyze whether this level, our mind, which easily manipulated by negative emotion, even though we want to be a nice person, but anger comes or suspicion comes, then that, you see, the mind immediately disturbed. So we realize that, and then now target is the kleshas. Kleshas is the real enemy. I must not allow the control of klesha
To control me. No.
That's now second level. So all these life, which ultimately not on our control, in our control, but due to our negative action also is to come through the negative emotion. Negative emotion come from ignorance. So in order to control all these, we have to eliminate because of the ignorance. The ignorance also, there are different levels. In order to eliminate those
Deepest.
those ignorance which causing our samsaric rebirth. Now that's aim. You should try to eliminate that sort of the ignorance. Then once that ignorance eliminates, then automatically all destructive emotion no longer develop. So that actually we call nirvana, moksha. Moksha means liberation. From where you liberate? From klesh. In order to liberate klesh, or in order to eliminate klesh, we must know the sources or basis of all these destructive emotions. That's ignorance. Ignorance, there are many different levels of ignorance. So that I think come later. So in order to eliminate ignorance, the real sort of antidote of ignorance is wisdom. Wisdom which understands shunyata. So now Buddhists, you see, the Atma, the sort of concept. Of course, those people is who practices Atma for meditation, Atma, and even sort of what's the rituals based on Atma. Okay, that's their own sort of way of tradition. Then from Buddhist viewpoint, from Buddhist practitioner, then I, naturally, we have some kind of the feeling of I. So we never feel this body, Now, for example, my own sort of body with white hair, because of white hair,
No.
white hair, and also some white hair here.
Eyebrows.
I never thought when I born, these white hair already there. We never feel that, isn't it? So this body, actually at the time of birth, this body, of course, the original way, continuation of this body there, but we never feel this old body at that time. Therefore, we say now old body, or young body, child body, like that. But all this child body, old body, young body, all this belongs to I. When I was young, when I was in mother's womb, I still there. So we not feel different eyes, same eye. So there is some kind of tendency. Physical mind is the possessor.
No, the possessor.
Possess.
No.
And the owner or possessor is I. I was young body. I was uneducated, young child.
No.
Then education. My mind changed, but same I. So there is that kind of tendency. I is more or less permanent. Body and mind changing. So that's natural feeling. So that's hangi. 풍불로 왕줄 경기 저도부 사지. 근데 지금 로 샤대하지 로 hangi 뭔지.
So we have this innate sort of sense of I, which is kind of seen as if it's like a ruler or of our body and mind.
So even Buddhism, who denying the independent I, self, but still, you see, there is a lot of debate and different views. The connection.
No, so there are questions raised in the classic text where they say that what is it that connects one from the past to the present and present to the future?
Obviously, at the time of death, this body no longer, no continuation. And mind, which come from this body, sort of brain, that also cease. So then what else is connected with next life? Unless, you see, you develop the deeper understanding, self is mere designated sort of phenomena based on body and mind. And body and mind also, grosser level of body and mind, subtle level body and mind, and most subtle level of body and mind. Unless we understand, we get some sort of understanding, right?
No.
Some knowledge about this difficult, the connection, previous life, this life, from this life, next life. So non-Buddhist, particularly those you see, who accept previous life and next life, the connection from previous life, this life to next life, Atma. Doesn't matter, this body and mind change, but same Atma. So therefore, Atma is permanent, never changing, and essentially separate from this body and mind. Then difficulty is, if you say Atma is completely separate from this body, then even I think obviously we can't make distinction male and female. Atma is independent. Male and female based on physical. So no connection. Male Atma, female Atma cannot say. Young Atma, old Atma, sick Atma, uneducated Atma cannot say. Because you see the mind and body completely Atma is completely separate from body and mind. So we have to sort of, obviously there's close connection, self, and self, sort of body and mind. Then within the Buddhist school of thought, I think mainly Chitta Mantra, you see, except Sheva Kyaba Gunshisati.
Yes. So Chitta Mantras accept the eighth consciousness, which is called Alaya Vijnana.
Self.
So the eighth consciousness, according to Chitta Mantra, is called Alaya Vijnana, or I think it's called foundational consciousness.
So 8 minds, usually 6 minds. The Chitta Mantra, 8 minds. So because, you see, they want to pinpoint something which carry from previous life, this life, next life. So there are a lot of, and then also imprints, where imprints remain. This body, this mind, at the time of death, no longer there. So where imprints remain. So here is a continuation of mind. Mind also is a grosser level of mind, and subtle level of mind, and a very subtle level of mind. When brain stop, brain sort of blood circulation stop, brain dead, then those mind which based on brain cells, then no longer function. So stop. So more subtle level. So at the time of death, 8 stages of dissolution. Solid means, earth means solid. Solid, liquid, heat, air, space. Go like that. And space or consciousness, and then space. Here, 2 space. External space, internal space. Internal space is very, very subtle level of consciousness. All the grosser level of consciousness completely cease. Then subtle level, innermost of subtle level, still remain. Within there, 4 stages. So these, I think, satisfactory explanation come from Guhi Samanza, tantric sort of text. And as I mentioned earlier, some people have actually experienced these the stages of dissolution, like that. Some even today, some of my friends who practice seriously last 30, 40 years, you see, they have the experience. It's a dissolution of these different minds. So now, unless you see you found the understandable sort of the concept, the basis of the imprints, and also continuation. At the same time, close connected with this body and mind. Unless you find that kind of sort of thorough understanding or explanation, you see, difficult once you deny existence of Atma. And then you see these kasota in
So while you may be able to deny the existence of an Atma as such, but then if you don't understand these subtle levels of the mind and which happens during the dissolution processes and going down to the subtlest one, then you will not be able to bring up a good understanding of the position to say what connects us from the past, what has connected us from the past to this life and from this to the next life.
I don't understand your attitude. Yes, like that. No. That's why I don't know. So break, tea break. Good, tea break. So then, after tea break, I would like to take some questions. Even some I would like to discuss.
Yes, if you have a question, if you could raise your hand, and we will rush a microphone to you.
Oh, this. Not necessary.
Your Holiness, I had a few questions arising from the Atisha's lamp for the path to enlightenment. First of all, I have been a civil servant, and I would, of course, like to aspire to a path of enlightenment. But the way to get there that has been described, is it possible? My question to you is it possible for a civil servant? Because I don't mean it from the manner in which the others are laughing, but until I attain enlightenment, I shall not harbor harmful thoughts which have been described as anger, avarice, or envy. Now, I find that what has motivated me best as a civil servant is that when I see injustice, it arouses anger. And if it does not arouse anger, I really don't know how I would have acted. But if I have had a limited success in the service, it is because my anger has been aroused, and therefore I have taken what action I felt was necessary. Also, it says that those observing pure conduct should not take the secret and wisdom initiations. Now, what are the secret and wisdom initiations? Of course, I have been Chief Information Commissioner, and therefore I would like all information to be made public. But setting that aside, what are the secret and wisdom initiations which it is required? Because it says, should not take the secret and wisdom initiations. And finally, if I may ask this question, that since this is based on the Bodhisattva, the teachings of Bodhisattva, I'm not very clear. I have attended many of your sessions, Your Holiness. I'm not very clear on the exact definition of the Bodhisattva's vow, which is described in this presentation. Thank you.
First question.
Shungi Shepshuba is and the Shungi Shepshuba.
Correct.
Shungi. Jaga Shungi, civil servants, Chechin Dosin, and the Georgia Adishari, Konduta, Shetan to Mabana, and Chanju Simbe, the Lamgi Yamne, Umaresmash, this one shas, and the Shungi Shepshuba in the Imbechane, this is my Vetan and this Chilenas, Matamba in the Chinela.
Then I think let us discuss about the first question. The precepts, minor precepts of Bodhisattva vow, the 46 minor precepts. One of them is circumstances such you need some harsh method to stop that wrongdoing. If you do not do that, if you do not carry that, is one kasoda kasa nijeshi.
As one of the secondary infractions of the vows.
So it is wrong. You must act the kasoda more forcefully to stop that. So, everything depends on motivation. I think obviously the good parent, good mother, if the child really say, is it running a dangerous place, then father or mother shouting, if necessary, beat. Motivation is the out of sense of genuine care of the child. So that sort of harsh method is actually non-violence. Then I think you personally also may have some experiences. Some people try to cheating you, and you see the very nice words and smile and respect, and sometimes some gift. So the action, non-violence, because of the motivation is, you see, negative. Therefore, violence. Clear. So sometimes my tutor, when I little bit sort of neglected about my study, my teacher used to look so, oh, what happened here today? That kind of thing. If I remember very clearly, one time so my teacher, you see, warned me, if you carry study very easy way, like this, continuously, then the final examination, how can you carry final examination? Really, you see, a little bit sort of the negative face and harsh word. These are completely out of sense of care, sense of concern. So very positive. Now anger depends on motivation. This kind of immediately little bit anger, but out of sense of concern, out of compassion, is positive anger. And you simply hatred. Out of hatred, anger is negative. So therefore, Vinaya level, mainly self-interest.
No.
Sosotava.
No.
Self-interest. So there are out of 253 precepts, many are there. Kasota. Gosh.
No. Many prohibit you to do wrong
Prohibit.
things.
But then Bodhisattva level, mainly concern of well-being of others. Then if circumstances is such, you need some harsh method, even telling lies, even highly necessary, even killing, violence, in order to sake of interest for larger sort of community and the long-run benefit. Then, for example, Buddha's own previous life story, he was one of the merchants.
No. Merchants.
Merchants, about 500. So among them, one person who constantly sort of planning to kill rest of 499 sort of people and all the belongings owned by him. Then the leader warned him, should not do that. One time, four times, three times, four times. But he didn't stop. Then finally, the leader, which one of the previous life of the Buddha Shakyamuni, then he felt, if I restrain killing this person, then he going to commit sin of 499 persons killed. And he himself have to face negative consequences from that sin. So then he killed one person, save that person's commitment,
No.
499 persons killing, stop, cease. He himself sinned, killing one person, but save life of 499 persons. Then he chose this negative action, killing. So it becomes right. So like that. So the many sort of prohibit or objection for. Now, for example, gold, Vinaya Sutra, you should not touch gold. And out of Bodhisattva sort of the precepts, if there is circumstances that someone offer you gold, and if you, according to Vinaya Sutra, you see, you don't touch, then that person disappoint. If there is such danger is there, you should touch, you should accept. So all these sort of practice depend on the actual sort of circumstances. And cross,
you have to weigh the pros and cons.
like that. Now, second question.
因为三位王堂的写了一些王尼，就马来西亚等的长久点了，就马来西亚叫了，我的兄弟上把的三位王是的可以呢，的三位小国也给爱人那些，然后头的三位那个。
Basically, Tantrayana, the very name is Guhe, secret. So that means, you see, such practice, ordinary people cannot practice properly. So, better to keep secrecy. In ancient time, in Nalanda, in India, those Mahasiddhi, the initiation, all these, just one individual. You see, watch both sides. The disciple side, watch the teacher, guru, whether this is truly reliable, truly qualified or not. The guru side also is watching the supposed becoming disciple. If necessary, 12 years examine, watching, spying each other. One is truly reliable. And then some of these teachings give individually. I think we Tibetan, I think font Tantrayana. So we give teaching Tantrayana thousands of people without knowing each other. So that, I think, I remember Professor Joshi of Patiala University or something. Right? Now he no longer. He wrote one book, and he himself, so while he alive, he gave me that copy of that book. It mentioned the causes of degenerate Buddha Dharma in this country. Number one, monk fund material values and carry some business. So people gradually lose respect. Some monk, after the death, a lot of goals, a lot of good things, expensive things there. So you see, people, lose respect. Number one. Second, the tantric practice, without a proper sort of qualification. Now, for example, sex. The proper sort of sexual sort of contact, the person should have full sort of, experience of full control about movement of Kundalini, like that. So in order to practice that, in order to examine that, or in order to test that, one good teacher, now he also passed away, you see, about I think 30 years ago, I have some discussion. You see, he, good monk, he mentioned, the milk in a pot. Then your thing, you see, sucking milk from there. So that's the experiment. How much you have the ability to control. So the semen or Kundalini come, but then control, go back. Come, go back, come, go back. That's a real practice. So through that way, the grosser level of mind dissolve, become inactive. Because the Kundalini movement, you see, some bliss. The bliss, you see, trigger,
No, trigger. No,
the grosser level of mind,
to subside.
neutralize. So that's the way. So one time, one monk, no, not monk, one sort of layperson, overseeker. I casually sort of, I mean, he had wife. I casually asked, you have children? Then he answered me, no possible of children, because all sort of the movement of this, the energies or the semen never come out. Always to stop and go back. So no possibility produce child. So that's the problem. Some of the, even high lama, a lot of children, I don't know. Like that. So therefore, at that time, some Tibetan actually, you see, practice this thing, this secret thing, without a proper sort of preparation or without checking their own ability. So the Atisha reject, should not do that, like that. The third question. Oh, that actually such tantric practice is involve the breathing control breathing, and also the Kundalini, Chandalini. These are common. Hindu Tantrayana and Buddhist Tantrayana, common. So differences makes the understanding of anatma, understanding of shunyata. The Hindu Tantrayana, you see, these practice combined with the concept of atma, here atma. And then bodhicitta. So that makes differences. But the yoga practice itself, not much differences. And paw.
And then there is also the practice of what is known as transferring or ejecting one's mind consciousness from out of the body.
Through meditation, you see your mind separate from this body. It actually, you see, few cases in Tibet when you see some practitioner, some lama, carried by the Chinese army, Chinese police, in order to bring confession or class struggle. You see some on the road, sitting, and then like that, then passed away. It happened. In the past also, you see, one Tibetan Lama, you see, he got some kind of accusation of criminal. So he brought to, I think they...
To the execution place.
Marupsamare came to some court, some question. So on the road, he told, you see, those people who bringing him, he told, let me sit. What happened? Oh, rest. And on a rock, he sit. Then the practice, you see, that separation of this body and mind, then die. So these practices also common. Non-Buddhist tantric practice and Buddhist tantric, Buddhist tantrayana. These are same practice. So that's why, you see, this moment, recently, supposed to my visit to Kumbh Mela, Mahakumbh Mela, I sent a message. I would like to meet some of the experienced meditator. I'm quite sure, I'm very, very eager. Those sadhus who spend at least a few months or few years in mountain area, completely naked. So they must have sort of experience about practice of Kundalini in a heat. Otherwise, how can survive? Completely naked. Looks a little bit strange, go like that. But actually, you see, really, one time in Delhi, one Kasadi, Jain temple.
No.
I think Kasa, Kumar Kasa, one
Jain master.
Sushil Kumar or something. I think you know. Sushil Kumar.
Sushil Muni.
After he passed away, for his sort of memory, some sort of construction of one temple. In the open ceremony there, one jail practitioner, Jain master there, completely naked. So I just used to sit next to him. I really used to develop admiration. He don't care about appearances. He firmly committed about his own practice, complete naked. So I sit next to him. I used to touch my head for his kasada.
Knee.
Oh, knee. I didn't notice his sort of instrument. Then afterward, my lesson officer, see, we always joking, teasing, and I asked him, "Have you seen that secret organ?" He said, "Yes, yes." So such is a practitioner. I think very serious these are, not pretended, really serious. So I sent a message to the organizer in Mahakumbh Mela place. I would like to meet some of these practitioners. And then my visit could not materialize, as I mentioned before. So we really, I very, very eager, you see, to sit down with such practitioner and discuss, exchange our experiences. That's very, very helpful. Very helpful. So any of you, some connection, knowing some of such practitioner, then let me know. I really, very serious, discuss and exchange our experiences. Then eventually, I think very important to carry experiment by scientists, as I mentioned. Oh, no, not this morning with student, I mentioned, this is some practitioner, is after death, their body remain fresh, including my own senior tutor. Next 13 days, his body remained fresh. And such case, you see, there are, I think at least, as far as we noticed, I think over 50 years, I think at least 30 of them happen after death. Body remain very fresh. Some cases, even 4 weeks remain. So as a result of discussion or mention these things with some scientists, so some scientists really, you see, showing interest. Now already, you see, it carries set up one sort of project to investigate such sort of person. So one very senior sort of Lama, actually head of Yellowhead sect, from ordinary sort of monk, then gradually become head of Yellowhead sect. He, I think, 18 days remain body fresh, 18 days. So one of his disciple, his student, one I think American or English, he clearly recorded day by day what happened. So the local doctors also, you see, investigate. And then we already have some equipment to examine such dead body. So some wire is to put on head. So some indication, extraordinary indication is happening. Clinically dead, but some movement in the brain. Breathing, no blood circulation. So the scientists see really showing wandering ray.
They show interest.
Show interest. Now the problem in the past is in some cases when such sort of event happened, equipment or the person who handled this equipment not available. Then the person and the equipment and the person available, not that kind of sort of death happened. And meantime, I cannot request, please you die in order to carry our investigation. Also, it's not very sure. I request, if die, not happen that, then disaster. so just we have to wait. So now recent years, you see that equipment and one trained person, now Dharamsala permanently remain there. So last week, one old monk, very weak body, usually weak body after death, very rare, that kind of meditation. But this, I think over 80 years, quite weak, but 5 days, his body remained fresh. So I'm wondering, I think among Indians, among Hindu practitioners, I think such experience should happen. But usually, you see, we do not take much of interest or notice. And also the cases express about past life. In 1970, I think 70s, I met two girls, one from Patiala, one from Kanpur. Kanpur, about 4 years old. Patiala, about 6 years old. Very clearly mentioned about memory about past life and the name of their past parent and their home, their friends, like that. Among Tibetan also is some such things which happen. So these are phenomena. To those scientists, more open-minded scientists who look objectively, they also showing interest, the further investigation. So, now next question. Not working.
How important are rituals to progress on the spiritual path?
Ritual, it depends the performer. The person who carries ritual. If truly experienced, at one time, I think most probably Miller Rabba, a well-known sort of practitioner. You see, sometimes you see, he, in order to show other people, you see, his sort of the energy. So he concentrate rock, solid rock, and the rock break through sheer sort of meditation. And then sometimes, you see, some of my friend, you see, fully concentrate. I think one Russian scientist also, I think some sort of the experiment. Fully concentrate. Actually, the purpose of shamatha is mobilize energy of mind. usually our mind is scattered. So you see, cannot, like water, scattered, not much force. In order to use for
Producing, producing energy.
produce energy, you see, water must
Channelize.
then more force. So similarly, our mind, through meditation or shamatha, channelize, then concentrate on particular sort of object, and fully, then some effect usually happen. Of course, I have no such experience. I wish such experience, but no, not yet. So it's a concentration power. You see, object can move. Like that. So ritual person who really qualified, firstly, himself or herself should have some experience. Then carry ritual, some effect there. But just read the text and with instrument made by gold, not much effect. Real effect here, like that. So I think for your question, answer for your question is both yes and no. Yes means qualified one, carry that, yes. Usually, without real quality, just to carry as a sort of custom or culture. And then I think this one German. So
Take your mic, please.
yes.
Your Holiness.
Microphone,
No,
keep there. Microphone, keep there.
Just wait a minute. This.
Then okay. Yes.
Your Holiness, I was listening to you very carefully about Atma and Anatma, and I can't work it out, because if you die and there's no Atma, then what is it that remains? What is it that goes on?
Buddhist explanation is the I is designated on the combination of body and mind. And body and mind also grosser level, subtle level, very, very subtle level. So the very, very subtle level, very subtle body and subtle mind always together, combined. That's the basis of designation of self. So that combined subtle body, subtle mind, no beginning, no end. So designation of the I, on that, no beginning, no end. Clear? So the basis of imprint is that subtle mind. As we already discussed at the death, at the time of death, grosser level of body and speech and mind dissolve. Subtle level also dissolve. Then innermost subtle level, after death, still body remain fresh, because subtle mind and subtle body remain within the body. As soon as that subtle body and mind separate from this body, then body decay immediately. Quite mysterious, isn't it? I think everybody have some sort of the knowledge that some interest keep. Then at the time of death, then we have to carefully watch real experiences. Maybe too late. I feel like that in my daily sort of practice, yoga practice, the 8th stage of dissolution. I think 5 times I always do. Supposed to the preparation. when actual death comes. So whether succeed or not, I don't know. So experiment, as an experiment, time of sleep. Again, you see, you should have some sort of fuller knowledge, the stage of dissolution
process.
Dissolution process. Some knowledge. Then, at the time of sleep, you fully alert your mind. I must sort of recognize the stages of these of dissolution. Too much alert, then destroys sleep. So you need sort of
A balanced awareness.
very clever way. Then there is possibility. First step, second step of dissolution, possible to recognize. Then third, fourth, fifth, difficult, unless you have some sort of deeper experience. Then that only in dream time. Remember this practice. Dream time, firstly, realize now I'm dreaming. I'm state of dreaming. Then deliberately meditate certain sort of place of chakra, mainly here. Then there's a possibility, dissolution, while you are dreaming, because of the concentration, because of the deliberately. That's also possible. So then much easier to realize these because of the different stages of dissolution. But not easy, take time. You need first sort of step, you need to try to remember Marikasota.
To be aware, become aware.
Become aware at the dream time. Now I'm dreaming. So once you realize dream time, now I'm dreaming, I'm in the state of dream, then you can control dream. And my official, monk official, very honest, I think no point to tell lie to me. He mentioned his mother, I think 1950s. His mother, you see, one day told him, now I am going to sleep, long period. So during that sleep, you don't disturb my body, mother told. Then next 1 week, looks mother sleep. After 1 week, mother told him, during those days, mother separated his subtle being and body, grosser level of body, separated, and she visited different places. And she actually is sort of telling what really happened in these places. Her dream body actually separated from the body and visit different places. I wish, you see, such sort of friend there. Then, as a government official, I would send to spy what you are doing. Or to China. Then, Politburo meeting. Can watch. So, next question.
No.
Next question. Oh, then the German. No.
I have a question regarding death. Knowledge is only valuable to a limited extent unless we totally experience it. So you briefly mentioned the 8 stages of dissolution. I imagine there are only very, very few people who in their lifetime actually go through this death meditation process of these 8 stages. And I also imagine that those people who actually did live through these stages will not talk about it. So how do we know that these 8 stages exist? And second, why is it in Buddhism, in Tibetan Buddhism, of such importance, for example, in death meditation, visualization, for example, of Yamantaka? So why is the power of visualization of such importance?
Dissolution.
디 팀림 기에디 냠뇽 유게 배 공부를 했어. 유겐 속은 송고 말했어. 디 유어버디 간데스 하고 없지 그랬어. 지그래. 디 니버디
That, as I already mentioned, you see, some people, even you see, the sick people, some medical doctors, they notice, you see, some patient, you see, some kind of sort of deep consciousness right now, some kind of dream-like sort of experience, you see, usually happen. So there are some similarities. Then I have one sort of my friend who now practice seriously in these, the tantric practice or meditation. Last, now I think more than 30 years. He actually, when meditate, he remained in meditation, deep meditation, 3 hours. So he actually experienced the different stages. There are also, you see, 8 different sort of stages. Also, you see, grosser and subtler, many differences. So, grosser level of at least 4th, 5th sort of dissolution, indication, he actually experienced. He told me. There's no reason he tell me lie. Quite reliable, quite knowledgeable. So I believe that. And then also is some of my friend, some practitioner. You see, they meditate at the grosser level of mind, becoming more inactive. Then subtle minds sort of experience. Then memory about past life become clear. Actually, you see, one my friend, now no longer. He told me like that. Again, that person, not liar.
So these people who experience these 8 stages of dissolution in life, they speak about it. It is kind of conveyed to others, or how do I have to understand that this knowledge of the 8 stages exists? If those, what I would assume,
actually experienced. So in the text mentioned, these texts you see wrote by like Nagarjuna. I think quite reliable sources, not drunk. Not some sort of, so they, sometimes you see, seller of Dharma. In China also now, because this is some Buddhist faith growing, so some false Lama from Tibet, actually seeking money or sex, no experience, but claim higher Lama. So number of Chinese, she told me, their disappointment, met such people. Initially, they really, because of the full faith, then gradually they notice not genuine, sort of say, Dharmaraja. So like Nagarjuna and his disciple, Aryadeva and Chantakirti, they wrote very clearly. And then in Tibet, among Kegyuba, among Giluba, among Satyaba, among Nimaba, number of stories there. Then Lama Tsongkhapa also, you see, exclusive experience. We can see his writing in early life. He just mentioned, it state that. The later part of his writing clearly shows, speaking from his own experience, very clear. So we can rely where?
No.
Their words. And then actual sort of experience, existing, sort of my generation, some actual sort of experiences happen. So then it confirmed that. That did it, because in Buddhism, so we categorize 3 levels. Tong Mingyur, Jungse Gogyur, Shindu Gogyur.
So when we talk about phenomena, things, there are 3 categories. The first is things which are obvious, that we can see with our senses. And then the second category is the slightly hidden phenomena. And then the third is a very hidden phenomena.
So the third level and the second level both ultimately depend on obvious level. Right?
No.
Now, scientists also investigate on obvious level. Yeah.
Things which are obvious to us.
And on that basis, then eventually analyze more hidden phenomena. The most hidden phenomena then have to rely on third person. Now, in order to rely on that person, third person, we have to sort of investigate that third person whether reliable or not. In order to investigate that third person, his sort of explanation or his knowledge about first level, second level must be correct, 100% sure. Then we conclude that person is reliable. Then third sort of level, what he said, through his or her own experience, then quite acceptable, quite reliable. So the long process like that. So all these, your knowledge, Nalanda Master's Indian knowledge, we Tibetan not invented these things. All they imported from India. So you, Indian, everything exported, no, nothing left. Okay. Sometimes I tell my Indian friends, the ahimsa, very much exported. Mahatma Gandhi ji and his follower, and Nelson Mandela followed that. And even sometimes Yasser Arafat, also later part of his life, he also is following ahimsa. So export. So while exporting these things, must produce continuously within the country. I think altruistic way. Everything give them and nothing left. Of course, still India, I think these potential traditional values still there. Now we should pay more attention about these values and educate our younger generation these values with combination, the scientific sort of findings and these ancient Indian knowledge, combinedly educate our younger generation. That's very, very important. Next question. Now that old one.
Old is good.
Why bad? Yes.
Thank you, Your Highness. The world of spirituality is so vast that it's virtually impossible to fathom it in one lifetime. And therefore, one notices that some people in one lifetime can cover more distance, much more distance than others. What do you think that is a function of?
Korsa. From Buddhist viewpoint, according to Buddhist explanation, not just one life. So continuation of life. I think according to my not very sure, little experience, including my dreaming, some my previous life in this country, some masters, some scholars. So at least I think several lives. So I learned, I study, and practice. So some traces or imprints of those life sort of experience, knowledge. I think one, some difficult subject. My case is without much effort, some point I easily sort of understand. Then some occasion is discussed with some top scholars. They are sort of knowledge, they understand through a lot of effort. My understand without much effort. But understand is to compare, I'm not behind. So then I felt, oh, maybe those subjects I familiarize through many lives. So that, from Buddhist viewpoint, of course, you see, according to theistic, this very life created by God, then God knows, we don't know. So that, it seems to see, and then also is some among my friends, some, it's a few words, they understand. Some, several times, explain, still confused. So you see, there are really, you see, some differences about imprints there now in past life. So then, I always telling people, a Buddhist practitioner, you see, don't expect becoming Buddha or become enlightenment within 3 years. It is communist propaganda. The reality, eons, it may take eons. So, 100 lives, or 100,000 lives, million lives go like that. But once our mind, basics of thinking, set one sort of direction, then life after life will continue. Then some improvement. Buddha's own sort of story mentioned 3 Dhammisum.
3 countless eons.
3 countless eons. So that really gives us some kind of determination. If too much sort of expectation within 3 years become enlightenment, then after 3 years nothing happened, then completely lost your faith, your sort of enthusiasm. So that's a dangerous. Much better. Think eons. And then I think my friend knows one very important sort of prayer. So long space remain, so long sentient beings remain, I will remain in order to serve them. That really gives us purpose of our life. And because of the usefulness of our life, that also becomes source of satisfaction, source of inner strength, source of determination. Clear? Like that. Yes? Now perhaps, yes, this one.
Your Holiness, I also have questions connected with the Atisha text.
Okay, already 4:30. Oh, then last question, yes, Atisha.
Okay. My questions are connected with the Atisha text that we are doing. Stanza 55, which talks about conceptuality being the basis of samsara. I would be very grateful if you could explain that a little bit. It's a very, very dense stanza.
Yes, that it will come tomorrow. I will go through Kasuri briefly, the text, then that will come. Okay. So now let us Because let us rest. And for me, no dinner as a Buddhist monk. One tea, and if I feel hungry, then a few biscuits with salutation to Buddha. Then sound sleep, usually 8 hours, 9 hours sleep. So let us take rest. And see you again tomorrow. Thank you.